Can you tell us about your mother meeting Charlie Parker?
Well, I don't really. Well, I guess I don't know. There's a story. Well, I think that they might have met casually in a club, but she was not too into him when he first came to town because he had a different sound and she wasn't quite sure of it. And then when she realized what he was doing, of course, he became a lot more attractive to her. And she mentions being on a ladder painting a room or something, and he came up and wooed her, seduced her, and that's how it happened. But she was like, "Hey, back off,"
right?
Because it was intense.
Huh.
And then then they began a relationship. And then I was born. My mother went on the road and had a one-night stand, and I was the product of that. And then Bird was really not too happy, and shunned her for a couple of years. And then I charmed him.
Yeah, because he fell in love with you.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He did, and I loved him very much.
Yeah.
And I'd always throw my arms around him and sit on his lap and daddy, and yeah, it was good. It was good. There were a lot of good times. There were a lot of tough times, but a lot of good times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. What was he like at home? Around you and your mother and the other children?
My memories are very specific because he was not home all that much. He was on the road a lot, and we only lived with him for 4 years. And he was out on the road a lot because he was at his prime, but when he was home, it was always very nice, and he loved being home for Sunday dinners. That was his big thing. I showed you that picture. It was at the table. Yeah, and the more family, the better, because he had, when he was growing up, it was really his mama and him. So he loved the idea of the extended family. Somebody once interviewed my grandmother and said, well, how did you get along with Charlie? And my grandmother said, well, he didn't like my meatloaf. True story.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, but my grandmother was surprisingly, because she was born in 1898 rather, and so, she might have been uptight about a black man at that point in time, but I never ever heard her disparage him. The only time she would be concerned was when my mother was upset.
Sure.
And my mother was often upset, and because Bird was very unpredictable. And but for most of the time when he was home, it was just very loving, and I recall eating with him a lot.
Yeah. I think that's an important side of him for people to hear, because I think so much that's been written about him has been written about either the music or the addiction issues, and I think that's one of the things I've enjoyed about hearing you tell the story from a different angle, of his life. It wasn't all about either one of those things.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. The other side is interesting to people because of the sensational aspect of it. But he was just he was square and he was corny,
right.
And he wasn't like a wild man,
Right.
I never saw that. Well, maybe others did, but I never saw him really out of control.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah, my mother was pretty good at shielding me from that, and she had my grandmother standing in the wings, to whisk me away if trouble was brewing.
Yeah, yeah.
which it did.